What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Golf Test, the channel where I use my game to help your game. Today's video is going to be what's in the bag for 2020. I know that is incredible as my game is. All of you can't wait to play the same sticks that I play. Yeah. And hey, bonus, if you stick around to the end of the video, I'll even show you my balls. Alright, starting off with number one, we're going to talk about the putter. I just got this putter not too long ago after being with my old putter for probably 15 plus years. This putter's got an amazing feel. I wasn't missing a lot of putts or putting terribly, but I just wanted a new putter and something that I had a little bit better feel with. This is the Tour Edge 304 SS Alps Edition mallet style putter. Standard length. Lie has been adjusted just a little bit, as you can see by the bend here, to be a little bit more upright. It's got a wind pistol grip. Most putters like the feel nowadays of a larger grip. That's why the Super Strokes, the Flat Cats, the big wind pistol grips like that are coming in. When you have a larger grip, from my understanding, what it does is kind of take your hands out of it and keep you from flipping at it so much. It's the reason a lot of people go to mid-sized grips on their irons and their drivers, and even larger, get them double wrapped, not just because they have larger hands, but because supposedly your hands are involved less in the process. I don't know if that's true, but I like the jumbo grip. This putter has stabilizing wings coming off the back of it, alignment aids on the top, and a milled face. Overall, this has a great feel and a lot of weight to it with a great sound and interaction with the golf ball when I strike it. My old putter was made out of a really cheap metal. I really did not like the feel or the sound of it coming off the putter, even though I putted fairly decent with it as well. Alright, we're taking my youngest daughter to school, so now we're on to the wedges. I used to have 3 wedges in my bag, but now... Show the wedges. Put the wedges on the camera. I used to have a 50, a 54, and a 58. But I noticed that I wasn't using all of my wedges nearly as often as Golf Digest magazine and the Golf Channel and all the pros would have you believe. So I decided this time when I got some new wedges to switch and just condense it down to 2 wedges. So I've got a 52 and a 58 in the Tom Washon wedge series. However, I have them bent to 53 and 57, keeping my gapping at 4 degrees between the wedges. Oh man, traffic going to school today is insane. Show the wedges. It's got to be in focus. Focus the wedges.
No.
Okay.
Is it?
All right, that's good. These are the PCF Micro Tour C Wedge series from Tom Washon. Now, Tom Washon is not exactly a well-known brand among most players, but to some of the club makers and builders out there, you'll know exactly what Tom Washon is. These have a milled face, standard loft and lie, standard shafts, standard Tour Velvet style grips, and they've got a pretty good feel. The bounce is pretty standard on them as well, and I enjoy the wedges so far. Alright, now let's move on to the irons. The irons, I've got a mixed set. Now by a mixed set, I probably mean a blended set by most people's standards. And what I mean is the 5 and 6 iron are different than the 7 through pitching wedge. In the 7 through pitching wedge, I've got the Mizuno 919 Tours. These are grain flow forged. They've got a Motor Steel shaft in them. I can't remember the gram weight on these irons. The grips are a standard size. From what I understand, the length of the shafts are standard size. I chose these irons even though they're not considered a game improvement iron or a blade. They're kind of a middle of the road iron because of their playability as well as their feel and feedback, while offering a little bit of forgiveness. I don't get into the big cavity back NASA designed super game improvement irons because I feel like they can mask a lot of your flaws in your swing and lead you to believe that you are more skilled than you truly are. But at the same time, I did not want a true set of blades with no forgiveness because I don't want to be penalized for too many of my shots. Alright, so I'm out here on a job site today. It's 28 degrees. There's a guy mowing in the dead of winter. Seemed like a perfect time to tell you about my 5 and 6 irons. They're the same Mizuno make in the same line, the 919s. They're just a step up in the ability to forgive and perform. These Mizuno JPX 919 forged are a slight step up. You can see they have a little bit of a cavity and a little bit of a slot cut in the back. I guess that's supposed to help a little bit with distance and forgiveness. I don't know. That's one of the reasons that I chose the iron set that I did, the Mizuno JPX 919 line. Not only because they say nothing feels like a Mizuno, and that's pretty true in my experience, because of the feel and the feedback and the soft forging process and the fact that it's grain flow forged and more of the heavier grains in the metal and the forging process kind of goes toward the bottom of the club to give you a little bit more forgiveness and a little bit more performance out of them. But with the JPX 919 line, as a lot of club manufacturers are doing today, you can choose between their different irons and blend them together like I've done. So in the 919 Tour, the lower irons, 7 through pitch and wedge, you get a little bit more of a player's iron. You get a little bit more of that feel and that feedback, but you do give up a little bit of forgiveness and possibly a little bit of distance. But at the same time, in the 5 and 6 iron, those are a little bit more demanding clubs. You need a little bit more assistance as an average golfer. So stepping up to the 919 forged, they're still forged, but they've got a little bit more cavity in them. They've got that slot cut into the back of them that's supposed to help you out a little bit to get a little bit more zip on the ball and also be able to move the perimeter weighting out more toward the toe to get you that little bit of forgiveness that you're going to need with the longer irons for those missed strikes. All right, so the day's drawing to a close. Figure I'll get into the last couple clubs in the bag, show you some of the gear I've got in the bag. If you're wondering about the thumbnail and why Brad Pitt is on the thumbnail, I'll explain. So Seven is a great movie. One of the greatest scenes in movie history, in my opinion, is the What's in the Box with Brad Pitt. What's in the box? So I thought, I'm going to make my What's in the Bag a little bit different than everybody else's. I'll recreate the entire scene at the end of the movie Seven. I'll call up Morgan and Brad and we'll get them all in and we'll recreate the whole scene. Brad was totally in. I mean, he was good to go. But when I called Morgan is such a pain in the ass, really. I mean, it's just so hard to nail this guy down. So, long story short, if I couldn't get them both to come and be in my video, then, I was like, the hell with it. I'll come up with something different. So anyway, I scrapped that whole project. Now we're going to get on to another area in my bag where I've made some fairly big changes. With the wedges, I definitely made a change going from 3 wedges. Again, everybody's always telling you got to have 3 and 4 wedges in your bag. And going down to 2 like I did. But the other big changes that I've made in my bag in the last year, I would say, is the elimination of a 3-wood and then sort of a 4 iron or a hybrid. I've opted to just put in the hybrid, and my theory behind that is this. If you're going to hit driver off the tee, it's because you need the distance and there's not a whole lot of penalty out there. But if you're not, and you're trying to hit the fairway and you need to be more accurate, in my experience, the difference between driver and 3-wood distance-wise and accuracy-wise, they're pretty close. If you're going to play it safe and go down to a 5-iron, which is what I'd been hitting off the tee, but I felt like I was giving up so much distance in the difference between my driver and my 5-iron that I wanted something in between that was going to be a fairway finder, that was going to be reliable, that was going to be much more accurate and much more likely to hit the fairway than my driver would, but at the same time give me more distance than my 5-iron, and that's why I've gone the way of the hybrid. Now, I had another hybrid that was more like a wood in its construction. It was the Ping hybrid that I had. You've probably seen it in some of my older videos, but I found that the wood shape to it just kind of threw me off. It just didn't fit my eye. It did not put my mind in a good place. So what I found through the local driving range here, there's a guy who builds clubs, is this Ironwood. So what's really cool about this is that this is made by Tour Edge. It's their HL4, but this is a 3 hybrid, and I like this cool little sock that comes with it. I think that's neat, Anyway, it's even got the loft stamped on the bottom of it, which I think a lot of clubs need to be doing nowadays. It's got all sorts of technology built into it. It's a hollow head, kind of like a wood is, but at the same time, it's not nearly as deep front to back as a traditional hybrid wood would be. And what's really cool about this is the top line. This is what really got me. See how the backside of this is painted black? And then when you're looking at it from up top, all you really see is this silver. And that's what sold me on this club. That's why I really liked it, is because when you look down at it, you see basically an iron. This black area back here just kind of fades away. You don't notice it as much, and you really see the top edge. So your brain thinks I'm hitting an iron, and you still continue to try and strike down on it, and it just gives me much better contact. And this has really been a great fairway finder for me. I think I hit it probably about anywhere between 210 and 225, give or take, off of the tee. And I can squeeze more out of it if I really go after it, but most of the time I'm really not trying to go after my shots nowadays. If I'm going to try and find the fairway with what this club is meant for, I'm just going to put a nice smooth swing on it, and I'm just going to pop it out there and just make sure I hit the center of the fairway. This is actually Tour Edge's own shaft. It's the Tour Edge HL4 stiff graphite shaft. It's got a pretty standard Tour Velvet grip on it. It's actually a Tour Edge brand as well. And the last club in my bag is obviously going to be the driver. I bought this driver a long time ago. It's at least been more than a decade. I'm not even sure what year this club was first manufactured, but this is the original TaylorMade RBZ driver. This driver, the story behind it, there was a guy I found online who was selling this club, but it was in two pieces. The shaft and the head were separated. For whatever reason, I don't know. I think it may have been because he put a different shaft into the driver head, but he kept the stock shaft. So I was like, well, I can put that back together. So I took a little bit of JB Weld and I mixed it up, the epoxy, in case you're not familiar with it, and I put this shaft back in it. I made no attempt to align the shaft at that point, get the spine alignment correct. I knew nothing about any of that stuff. I played it that way for years. It held solid. It never came off. It was a great driver for me. And then it started to get just a little bit wonky for some reason. I don't know if it was because of what I did to it or if it was just because maybe my swing had changed so much. Anyway, when I went to get fitted for my irons, I showed the guy who made the clubs this driver, and he said, you know what, this is a really good solid driver head. This was one of their better makes. Your shaft is just a noodle. It's terrible. So let me put you a new shaft in it, something a little bit more playable. And this is the V2 Pro Force Mamiya 6F4 in stiff shaft, made by UST Golf. I don't know what any of that means, but it's a stiff graphite shaft, and he said this was a much better shaft than what I had in it. I also had him cut it down to 43.5 inches. This was originally 45 3/4. And I've seen some videos online where people talk about shorter shafts in your driver, giving you a little bit more control, a little bit more consistency. And yeah, you give up a little bit of distance maybe, but you may also offset the loss in distance because you're hitting the center of the face more often. And anytime you know that you hit the center of the face, you get more distance. It's not an off-center strike. So he did that, and then he injected a little bit of weight into the head of the driver to actually give it a little bit better swing weight. But you can see this thing has got a little bit of wear and tear on the bottom of it, but overall, for its age, it's in pretty good shape. The face, you can see it's got a few dings down here near the bottom, and the top of it is a little bit off-white now, where it used to be really white. But this driver is not an adjustable driver. That's another thing, is like the tech that they put in there. That tech is not necessarily, in my opinion, so great for us to be trying to implement. We don't need to be taking that tool and adjusting that head and messing with the lie and the loft and everything on it. I think that really helps out the club manufacturers a little more. If you go for a lesson or a fitting, they can quickly adjust it that way and play around with it, but let the pros handle that. Okay, now we're going to get into everything else that's in my bag. First of all, let's go to this first pocket right here. This is my laser rangefinder. You've seen me do a review on this. If you haven't checked that out, go back and look on the channel page and see my full review of this laser rangefinder. I've had it for a while now. It's a terrific laser rangefinder at a great price. Amazon.com. You'll probably notice my metal medallion here on the side. This is my Players Club member medallion from Golf Sidekick. I manufactured these a while back, and then you could get in on it and purchase these. I did that. Golf Test dummy engraved on the back of it. This bag, I've had it for a really long time. This is a blue and white Adidas golf bag. It's got the striping and everything on it to let you know that it's Adidas. I think I paid like $50 for this bag, brand new, which is insane, and it's held up now for probably close to a decade. The glove I'm currently using is an RBZ TaylorMade glove. This glove has held up really well, astonishingly well, honestly. I mean, I've had this now for several months, and it is still in great shape. Not a lot of discoloration. Really good glove. A lot of people call these divot tools. These are not divot tools. These are pitch mark repair tools. 8 divot is what you take after an iron strike. This is a pitch mark tool for when you land your ball on the green. I don't that often, unfortunately. This is the ball mark tool that I use. These are just cheap plastic. They came for free when I bought some stuff off of golfhq.com. These are the types of tees that I use. Now, I know a lot of people don't get into this stuff, but this is a plain wooden 2 3/4 inch golf tee. Anybody who's buying white tees or colored tees, you'll know that they leave marks on the bottom of your club, and I don't like that. I don't want a mark of paint smeared across the bottom of my club, so I hit natural wooden tees. The balls that I'm currently gaming, I recently did a review of this Maxfly Straight Fly golf ball. This one is pretty dirty because the last round of golf that I played was pretty muddy. But these Maxfly Straight Flies, if you have not watched the review on that, go watch the review on it because this is my new golf ball. And the other golf ball I was playing just before that was the TaylorMade Tour Preferred. These are used golf balls that I purchased from golfballnut.com. It's a great website. You can find all kinds of different grades of these balls that have been reclaimed, pulled out of ponds, pulled out of the woods, just basically salvaged from out there on the golf course. I do have one of these club brushes on a lanyard on my bag. It's got a soft bristle brush and it's got a wire bristle brush to clean out the grooves in my irons. I also keep a microfiber little towel on the side of the bag. You can spit on this thing, get a little bit of water on it, wipe your clubs down. It's great. All right, that's going to wrap up the What's in the Bag 2020 for Golf Test Dummy. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope maybe you got some ideas for what you ought to have in your bag and maybe how you could build your bag and the clubs in your bag from this video. If you liked this video, please click the thumbs up button down below. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell notification button and select all so you don't miss any videos. I have lots of people, once again, messaging me all the time and they're talking about stuff that happened 20 years ago. Keep up to date by hitting the bell notification and subscribing to the channel. The CIA will not follow you home and track all of your expenditures. I promise. And it's totally free. There is no cost associated. There's no email bombs. I'm not going to do anything to you. All it means is that when I post a video, you'll know about it and you can click on it and go watch it right away. Again, thanks a lot to Brad Pitt for helping me make this video. Morgan Freeman. If you haven't seen the movie Seven, shame on you. Go watch it. It's great. It's classic. Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman are awesome in it. We'll see you next time.